Hi everybody, this is Nishika, and welcome to the fourth sub module of the course Business Communication. I hope you guys must have watched my previous three modules where I have talked about the basics of business communication, employment communication, and oral communication and presentation skills. So today we'll be discussing our fourth module, which is on technology in business communication, and it is a very important topic nowadays since the COVID pandemic happened. We all had to make use of technology in our day to day lives. So this topic has become much more important nowadays. So let's see what what are the contents in this module. What do we mean by using technology in business communication? So, the transfer of messages, information among people and or machines through the use of technology. Basically, when we make use of technology to transmit or transfer a particular information or a message to a group of people or to any single people through making use of technology is technology in business communication. Some of the examples of communication technology or where we can make use of technology while communicating are computers or internet, television, radio, phones, and podcast, where we make use of technology in order to transmit our message or some piece of information that we want to convey. So let's see what were the sum of what were the traditional communication methods and what were its advantages and disadvantages and why we switched to modern communication method, that is by making use of technology into business communication. Traditional methods of business communication tend to mean paper based messages such as formal letters, brochures, reports, proposals, and notes. These are some of the ways, or we would say, traditional methods of business communication were paper based, and we were making use of paper in order to communicate our message or information. And some of the ways through which we can do so was by making use of formal letters, brochures, reports, and proposals. So these types of stuff. So what were the advantages of traditional communication, or what are the pointers that needs to be keep in mind while we are talking about traditional communication methods? So the first one is reader preference. So one of the important elements of any type of communication is how effective the message is. So communication is most effective when the message is clearly clarified or received by the intended audience. And some people prefer to read information from a sheet of paper rather than a device screen, or prefer to read a novel from a hardbound book versus on a tablet device. In communication, it's all about the receiver instead of the sender. So putting the receiver, the communication first, the message will be more effective. Next is storage and archive. One other advantage of traditional communication method is storage of documents, which we can't see in the modern methods of business communication. So many organizations today also believe in having a hard copy document to back up electronic records. Despite the fact that the emails, text, and other digital communication have found to be legally binding, but the storage and archiving of paper document continues to be important since electronic storage is not a foolproof, or they may get lost as well. So, from the perspective of storage and archive, traditional communication methods were more reliable. Next is security. So, another advantage of traditional communication technique is that it is related to data storage or data security, we would say, because data breaches and hackers have shown that no electronic record is completely safe. Next is convenience. Convenience is also we would say merit of digital communication, but it is also a benefit that we can get from traditional communication. So in order to open an email or read a text or scan a social media post, you must have functioning device that is connected to the internet. So we all know that there are times when we are unable to be online, because of poor signal coverage or any of the reasons such as dead battery. So there are even times when we wish to be disconnected on purpose to have a bit of break. So next is perception. So finally, traditional communication methods can make a good impression and improve the receiver's perception of the message that is being sent. And a formal written proposal such as which is sent to a customer usually gets opened in contrast to an email that is flagged for later or marked as unread. So a handwritten note is almost always opened right away because of its novelty that it holds. So these are some of the pointers that describes the importance, or we would say some of the features of traditional communication methods. But there were several disadvantages, or we would say there was a scope of upgradation in the traditional communication methods. Thereby the use of technology in business communication was made, and now we'll be seeing what role the technology plays in business communication, or why we are considering making use of technology in business communication. So, technological development has changed human lives dramatically. It brings the dynamism or prosperity in human lives by making uh, our lives so much easier. So, let's see what role technology plays in business communication. First one is quick transmission of information. So, the greatest advantage of electronic communication is the quick transmission of information. So, with the help of electronic media, one can send information to a distant receiver just within a few seconds. Second is transmitting large volume of information. So people can send large volume of information with the help of electronic devices. Though through email, one can attach writings of 100 pages easily. Next is making instant business decisions. So, with the help of electronic communications, manager can take instant or quick decisions. So, with a click of computer, they can obtain at anywhere from any time in the world. So, this helps in making quick decision and ensures better management of business. Next is lowering communication cost. So electronic communication not only saves time but also money. So electronic communication such as email requires less cost than the traditional means of posting a letter. Let's say. Next is wide coverage. So, through electronic communication, one can transmit information to many receivers who are located in different places. So, with the help of electronic devices like satellite, people conquer distance, and the whole world has now turned into a global village. Next is communication with distant people. So, electronic communication provides the opportunity of interactive communication with distant people. So, video conferencing, for example, allows interactive communication even though the participants are geographically dispersed. So, it saves our travel cost, time, and energy as well. Next is easy preservation of information. So electronic devices can store huge volume of information that can be used at times they need. So as a result, the use of manual files is decreasing day by day. And the next is managing operations globally. So in modern days, businesses are becoming more and more global, and they are dispersing their operations across the world. So management of dispersed business operations is possible only through electronic communication. So let's see some of the ways through which technology is used in business communication. So the first way is video conferences. So during the COVID time, we have been connected online only. We were attending our classes through online mode. We were doing meetings, and we were being allotted work from home. So always being done through video conferences only. And the platforms that can be used for this would be Zoom or GoToMeeting, Skype, Google Hangouts, Meet, Cisco WebEx meetings, and there are many other software which can be used for the same purpose. And the craze for video conferences has been increased from time to time since it saves our travel time or cost, we would say. So the next is and yeah, also from in video conferencing, the message is being transmitted on the spot, and the sender also receives the feedback as well. So it is very effective in terms of cost as well as the time. Next is text messaging. So, text messaging or texting is the act of composing and sending electronic messages, typically consisting of alphabetic and numeric characters, between two or more users of mobile devices, desktop, laptops, or any other type of compatible computer. So, in the text messaging, we just write down our message or the information that we want to convey, and we just click on the send button to send our message. And there are many texting apps which we can use for this purpose, such as WhatsApp, or if there's a informal message, or Instagram, or we have a very formal platform, LinkedIn, and many other platforms are there through which text messaging can be done. Another source or another form is web portal. So a portal is a web-based platform that collects information from different sources into a single user interface and present users with the most relevant information for the context. So the most relevant example here is of a website. So if you go on a website, they conveys the information regarding what the company is, what are their products, how they're dealing into it, and you can get all the information about it. So let's say, if we talk about a college website, so if you visit a college website, you'll get to know about the details, like about the college, when it is formed, what courses it provides, or how to get admission. And there are also there are many forms available on the website through which you can contact the particular college or the particular website owner. So this is also an effective way of communicating by making use of technology. Next is electronic mail, which is also a very important way of communicating electronically. So, electronic mail or email is a computer based application for the exchange of messages between users. So, most of the business communication, when they aren't verbally, so they are done through emails only. We get a lot of emails, or company sends the for all the formal communication through emails only. And some commonly used softwares are Gmail, Microsoft Outlook, Yahoo Mail, AOL, and Zoho, that can be used for the same purpose. So now let's see what are some of the disadvantages of using technology in business. So here are some of the pointers. First one is increasing information overwhelm. So one of the biggest disadvantages of technology in communication is that it can lead to information overwhelm. So when employees receive an abundance of information through multiple mediums, they may not have time to digest it all because human memory is limited. So business communication technology tools can lead to an overload of content, because when there are too many sources of communication, they may resist going through them. So uh, yeah, this clears up this point. And blurry lines between personal and professional time. So business communication tools such as mobile phones, instant messaging app, and video call platforms make it easy to reach colleagues every time and anywhere. So while this is a good way to increase productivity, but it can also cause problems with work-life balance. So if businesses are able to reach their staff at all hours of the day, they may be cutting into the employees' personal time, which can lead to stress and frustration and absenteeism. Next is selecting the wrong medium for the conversation. So, one of the demerits of communication technology is that not everyone knows which medium is right for which kind of communication. So, let's say an instant message applications are ideal for time sensitive topics that don't require a lot of back and forth. But emails are great for sharing important memos or updates, while video call meetings are best suited for presentation or client conversations. So, however, an employee who isn't sure which business communication medium to choose may select the wrong one, which wastes time and hampers the productivity as well. So, next is avoiding. Next is the lost art of conversation. So when we are communicating through the traditional ways, there's a personal sense of touch which gets into it. But when we're making use of technology in business, then that personal touch, or we would say, that was lost. So ultimately, this led to lost art of conversation that we have been following from so many of the years. Next is Detroiting language. So sometimes while we are texting, or while we are putting our message into words, it can lead to many, we would say, spelling mistakes, which can ruin the whole meaning of the word, or it can lead to a very bad impression upon the recipient. While it's not intentional, but it will put a bad impact upon the reader, that this person doesn't know about the spelling of this and this word, particular word. So yeah. Next is enabling rudeness. So sometimes when we are communicating through a digital platform, we may sound rude to the person that is receiving our message, because it's not very because the personal touch is missing. So it may enable rudeness. Next is constant disruption. So there are many disruption while we are making use of technology. There can be network issues, there can be many background noises or something like that, which ruins the whole, we would say, the shine of the whole process. So we can also avoid the negative effects of technology on communication by setting up clear guidelines for employees to follow, to avoid the negative impacts. Or yeah, the manager can clearly specify what kind of business technology should be used, and they can also provide best practices for each mediums. uh, and they should get a solid understanding of how and when to reach each communication tool. So these are some of the steps that can be taken in order to avoid the negative uh, effects that technology using technology in business have. So let's talk about some of the advantages to of using technology in business communication. So the first one is you can talk in real time. So it is very easier to talk quickly using apps than the old fashioned methods like telephone and fax. So by using technology advantages, it is possible to speak to people in real time while they'll be over a messaging app or via video call on a PC. So and as I told, there are a variety of apps that can be used for communicating technologically. Next is it is remote. So one of the other advantages of technology in business communication is how easy it is now to communicate with the remote workers. The workers of the future is relying more on remote employees. So it is vital to have a platform that can communicate with them. So you don't have to travel to a long distance just to communicate or just to attend a meeting. So you can just attend that while sitting in an opposite corner of the country. So it's very easy to communicate remotely. Next is security is increasing. So as the more and more technology is developing, the more secure it's becoming. So using emails, especially when they were sent out to entire office without adequate security, was a recipe for disaster. But nowadays, most apps use end-to-end encryption, meaning that the messages can only be read by the sender and the receiver. Also, the smartphones, tablets, and Apple computers have security softwares implemented to them nowadays to make sure that they are protected from the hackers. And nowadays, securities can be purchased for Microsoft computers as well. And the next is it is more environmental friendly. So we would say that keeping in contact with people remotely rather than using letters, if of course very beneficial to the environment, because it helps in it helps in we would say um, saving the resources that needs to be utilized while we are communicating through traditional methods. So um, so we are ultimately reducing our paper wastage in the office, and so because we can do it easily in different ways as well. Next is it is enjoyable. So while using technology to discuss work matters is more casual than more old fashioned methods, because it is also an enjoyable way to get to know your colleagues and establish a personal touch. So emojis and GIFs are widely used in some offices to add a dash of humor to the working day. Or to quote example here, like the manager is putting the message into the WhatsApp group and saying the its colleagues, saying its subordinates to acknowledge that message by sending a particular emoji. So this is also an example that how innovatively, or how by making use of fun we can communicate as well. So this is great for contributing to a relaxed and hopefully productive and we would say efficient atmosphere. So the next is it improves customer relationships. So the companies that have adopted techniques for using technology to communicate in the workplace are going ahead in terms of customer relationships. So many businesses have taken to using boards on their Facebook page, which can quickly and easily answer customers' questions. Or let's say video messaging applications like Google Hangouts are great tools that can help the businesses speak to customers internationally. So developing a great app is another fantastic way to use technology to create a great customer relationship base and communicate with customers. So people who frequently use the services of a business will download the app and use it to contact with the comments, questions, or improvements, we would say. So the last is it is more versatile. So we would say that there are many ways through which we can communicate, or there are multiple mediums through which we can communicate, and there are very great way to share business ideas using technology because of its several advantages that we have seen. And there are a range of alternatives that are being available. So if one medium is not appropriate, then we can just easily switch on to the other. So it is very versatile as compared to other mediums. So now we reach to the conclusion of using technology in business communication. So I would say that impact and use of technology in business communication is increasingly and unignorable. So while it may only seem minor to change a form of messaging or presenting to colleague, it has some very real benefits that can affect all parts of the business, including security, customer relations, eco-friendliness, and ultimately it leads a positive impact on the business bottom line. So nowadays, as we have seen the post-COVID period, we have been using technology in our day-to-day lives. So its craze is only increasing and not decreasing, and we necessarily have to adopt or use this in our day-to-day lives because it is very important nowadays. So with this, I end this module. And if you guys have any questions to ask, you can please feel free to leave them in the comment, and we'll surely reply to you. So thank you so much for joining in.